December 5th, 1872, the crew of the British merchant ship Dei Gratia was sailing through a cold, misty Atlantic Ocean, midway between the Azores and Portugal. The weather was calm, but the sea held a dark secret. Suddenly, the helmsman spotted a shape on the horizon. It was another ship, the Mary Celeste. Her sails were torn, and she was drifting erratically, tilting with the waves like a dying beast. The captain of the Dei Gratia sent a boarding party to investigate and offer help. But as the rowboat drew closer, a chilling silence gripped the men. They climbed onto the deck, shouting for the captain, but only the hollow echo of the ocean answered. What they found inside was not a tragedy of blood and violence, but a riddle that would baffle scientists, historians, and detectives for over a century. The ship was fully intact. Even a warm meal was left on the table. But there was not a single soul on board. 10 people vanished into thin air without a trace. Welcome to the terrifying mystery of the Mary Celeste. In this video, we will dive deep into the forgotten details of that fateful voyage and examine the terrifying theories of what really happened. Prepare yourselves, because the truth might be more horrifying than any ghost story you've ever heard. To truly understand the horror of the Mary Celeste, we must go back to its very beginning. The ship was not always called the Mary Celeste. It was built in Nova Scotia in 1861 and originally named the Amazon, but from the moment it touched the water, bad luck followed it like a shadow. On its very first voyage, the ship's first captain suddenly fell mysteriously ill and died. The crew whispered that the vessel was marked by evil forces from the day it was built. On its next few journeys, the Amazon was involved in multiple disastrous collisions with other vessels, gaining a reputation among sailors as a cursed ship that demanded blood. Eventually, it ran aground during a violent storm and was abandoned as a complete wreck. But a group of American investors bought the ruined hull, spent a fortune repairing it, and renamed her the Mary Celeste. They believed a new name would wash away the curse. They were dead wrong. The ship was waiting for the perfect moment and the perfect victims to unleash its darkest chapter. It was November 7th, 1872. The Mary Celeste stood proud at the New York harbor, ready to sail to Genoa, Italy. At the helm was Captain Benjamin Briggs, a deeply religious, highly experienced, and respected mariner. This wasn't just a business trip for him. It was a family journey. Beside him stood his loving wife, Sarah, and their innocent 2-year-old daughter, Sophia. To manage the ship, Briggs had chosen a crew of 7 elite, seasoned international sailors, men who knew the treacherous Atlantic like the back of their hands. Their cargo was highly dangerous, 1701 barrels of raw, industrial alcohol meant for fortifying Italian wines. It was a volatile cargo packed deep into the dark belly of the ship. As the ship pulled away from the harbor, leaving behind the safety of the land, the sky turned a heavy, bruised gray. No one on board knew that they were looking at the shores of America for the very last time. For the first 2 weeks, Captain Briggs's logbook described a smooth journey. But on November 25th, the logs abruptly stopped. Something had broken the routine. 10 days after the final log entry, on December 5th, the crew of the Dei Gratia spotted the vessel. When the boarding party stepped onto the deck of the Mary Celeste, they expected to find a crew dead from a pirate attack. Instead, they found an eerie, unnatural emptiness. The sails were poorly set and damaged by the wind, and there was water sloshing in the lower decks. But the ship was perfectly seaworthy. It wasn't sinking. As they entered the crew's quarters, they found the sailors' dry clothes still packed in their chests. Their pipes, tobacco, and personal treasures were untouched. A sailor would abandon his life before abandoning his tobacco. In the captain's cabin, Sarah Briggs's sewing machine sat quietly, with a half-finished piece of cloth still under the needle. But the most terrifying detail? The ship's only lifeboat was gone, cut away from its ropes. It became terrifyingly clear the captain, his family, and the crew didn't drown with the ship. They had chosen to leave it. They stepped into a tiny boat in the middle of the endless ocean. But what drove them to such madness? For over a century, dark theories have haunted this mystery. The first theory was mutiny and murder. Did the crew break into the alcohol, get violently drunk, and murder the captain's family? However, the industrial alcohol was undrinkable, and there were no signs of blood or violence anywhere on the ship. The second and most scientifically plausible theory involves the cargo itself. 9 of the wooden barrels were later found to be empty. It is highly possible that these barrels leaked, creating a buildup of toxic, explosive alcohol gas in the hot enclosed cargo hold. Fearing a catastrophic explosion, Captain Briggs likely panicked. He ordered everyone into the small lifeboat, tying it to the ship with a rope. But then, a sudden Atlantic storm might have snapped that rope, leaving them stranded in a tiny lifeboat in the middle of a merciless ocean. Yet old sailors whispered of darker things. They spoke of a sudden waterspout, a tornado at sea, that sucked the crew straight off the deck into the sky. Others whispered about a giant sea monster, a Kraken, that emerged from the abyss to claim 10 souls, leaving the ship untouched as a monument to its power. Not a single body, nor a single piece of that fateful lifeboat was ever recovered. They vanished completely, swallowed by the infinite blackness of the ocean. What do you believe happened in those dark hours of November 1872? Was it a panicked escape from an invisible danger? Or did they encounter something supernatural? Tell us your theories in the comments below. If this story sent a chill down your spine, hit that like button, subscribe for more historical mysteries, and share this video with someone who loves a good scare. Until next time, keep questioning the shadows.